Okay, for this next bit, it's going to get a little heavy, but you should be able to handle it. We're just combining what you've done thus far. So first up, I created a style sheet. So this is optional if you want, but this is going to play into your project. And then I created a linked, just random JS file. And then I have an index file, which I'm typing into. So what we're going to do is we are going to randomly pull stuff from an array. And what I want you to do is create 5 HTML files and put numbers in them, just one. You don't have to make them anything fancy because when they display, so if I go 1.html, they'll just display number 1. Keep it simple. So there's number 1, number 2. Yeah, just keep it simple. And let me go back to the index file. Here we are. And you don't have to do any fancy web page setup, not yet. But you should be familiar with, putting a button together with a function. So what I did is I did button on click, and I'm going to run a function called go, and then just click me button. So this says click me right here. And then I have the reference to my external JS file. So go ahead and stop the video and get that all set up, and then we'll go over the JavaScript. All right, so I'm going to show you a different way to create an array. Now, last time when we created it, I stuck it inside brackets, and I pulled data over. Now, here's the deal. That's if you want to pull data that's what's called stored. So we stored that in there. But what we need to do is we need to, at the push of a button, pull information over. So my goal is when I hit this click me, it's going to pull one of these pages over at random, okay? So just like we talked about pass through, we have to go through these separate tunnels in order to, if you think of like, you have a rabbit hole this way, and then there's a different rabbit hole you got to go through, and it's like you kind of have to thread a string through there. This is just sort of a mental picture I get when I think of pass-throughs. The first one I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable and call it links. And I'm going to call it, I'm going to say new array. Oops. And, oops, let me lowercase that new. There we go. It's lighting up, right? And here's where the brackets are. So, or what I would store. So I'm going to set a bracket. Oops, not a bracket, a parenthesis. I have to create a pass-through. That was my mistake. So new array, and I'm going to have 5 pages right here. So I'm going to go 5.
Here's this interruption.
I think I put a semicolon out of reflex, but you don't want a semicolon right there. Now with the variable listed here, anything I list under it is going to be attached to that variable. So I'm going to do a bracket. And remember, JavaScript counts from 0. So 0 equals, messed up. So you do links, right? So variable links, so plural links, it's in the 0 position. And I'm going to go 1.html, semicolon. And you're going to do this for every page listed. So the next one would be links 1, 2.html. So the names of your HTML pages. So unlike the last array, so what I need is I need a function tied to this button, and we already wrote the function over here, so it's just going to be go. But what needs to happen is, unlike the last array tutorial, what needs to happen is you need to call a function in order to pull from this array, okay? And we're going to be doing two different things. We're going to be pulling from the array, but we're going to do it randomly. So it's going to load random pages. So that's two different things in one function. So I'm going to call this function. And I already named it go. And I'm going to give it the curly brackets, give it some room. There we go. Now, I'm not going to construct this in a straight line. I'm going to show you just the different parts. So the first thing we have to do is we have to create the random function. Now, you don't have to create a separate function like this. You just put in the command or the method, and it'll work. So we go math, and it's mathematical. It's kind of counterintuitive. But like I said, JavaScript is built on math. And you create a pass-through, okay? And then you count up how many you have. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, which means we have 5. So you're going to multiply it by 5 to pull from each of those arrays. So we'll give it some room so you can see it. So this is the random function. It's a little, or method, I'm sorry, it's a random method. This is how you randomize things. You can randomize, like in a game, you can randomize enemies coming at you or something like that. So like at random, you get an orc. At random, you get a super orc. At random, you get a mini boss. At random, you get a big boss. And as the game progresses, you get just a random mix. Maybe you get 20, maybe you get 30. So there's a lot of randomness in games, and that's a lot of different random methods tied to what you want to be random. So now we need to create a variable. So we're going to call this variable A. We'll give it an equals. Now, here's the thing. Because this is math random, it's kind of odd. It's going to count from the number 1 when you do a math random method, but arrays start at 0. So you have to specifically tell it you want to start at 0. Otherwise, math, it's going to start at 1. Sort of a kind of a concept you got to kind of wrap your head around. But here we go. So we go math, and to get that done, use math floor. Oops, if I spell it right. Make sure I capitalize math, so that's in green. And I'm going to do a parenthesis, and I'll just back this up in here. And you got to wrap the math random function, okay, as a pass-through. So this is kind of weird. You're passing through randomness, pulling from an array of 5, and you have to pass it through a math floor method to make sure you pick up everything from this array. And variables need to end in semicolons. Now, this can get a little confusing. So to actually call the function and say, this is what I want you to do, I want you to look at the array, we actually have to tell it to pull from the array. So it's two separate things. One is look at the array, so that's variable A, and then pull from the array. So this can kind of get a little wonky, but you got to name another variable, and you got to get it set equal to A. So you have variable B, you need to name an entirely new variable, and you set it to A, so the question is, what's B going to do? This is where you set a location. Equals links and hard bracket, or not curly bracket, B. So we're done with the JavaScript. So again, we have a function that's tied to this button right here. We set up our array, which is tied to random web pages or just numbered web pages. And what do we want to do? We want to pull random, okay? We set this to 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Even though it's numbered to 4, there are 5. We set the variable to A. We have a math floor, so it includes 0. And then we set another variable to A, or I'm sorry, a variable B, and we set that to A. And then what do we want variable B to do? We want it to look and pull from links, this variable right here, and it's tied to this variable. So when you call this variable, it passes through here. It then pulls from here. That's the location. Let's see if it works. So click me. 3, to back up. 1, 2, 4. Sometimes you'll get them like in a row. 4, like that. This is true randomness. It doesn't feel random. So like you can get 3 4s in a row, or you could get 2 4s, 1, and then 2 4s again. That is randomness. Like I have a playlist on my iPhone and I play it through my car, and like I'll skip a track, and it'll play a track, and I skip a track, it goes to a different track, I skip again, and it goes back to a track I already skipped. That is true randomness. So this is how you do and pull random pages. And this is going to add up to a activity you're going to do where you are going to sort of go back in time and you are going to do another choose your own adventure. Except in this case, it's going to pull random scenarios. So you see how you pull random pages. So there's 5, 4. These are going to be your story. This is going to be a button on your main page right here. And you can just embed this function in each page. So I'm not going to show you exactly how to set it up in the next video. I'm just going to show you sort of, I'm not going to show you like a model example. I'm just going to show you how you would put it together. All right.